Welcome to today's Explainer. You know, every single day, the devices sitting right in our pockets are silently rewriting the actual rules of how we interact, how we empathize, and, well, even how we love. We call this phenomenon the digital pulse, and getting a handle on its rhythm, that's absolutely crucial if we want to master our modern social lives. Okay, so let's dive right into this, because to understand the micro changes happening in our own lives, we really have to grasp the macro scale first. 100 billion. That is the estimated volume of messages sent daily across our global networks. I mean, to put that staggering number into perspective, we've basically built an infrastructure that allows for more communication in just 24 hours than our ancient ancestors probably experienced in their entire lifetimes. Crazy, right? But that massive scale brings us to a really fascinating central paradox. With all this constant contact, are we actually connecting? Seriously, take a second and reflect on your own screen time. Think about the hundreds of taps, swipes, and those lightning-fast quick replies you fired off just yesterday. Did they actually fulfill your core human need for deep connection, or did they just kind of keep you busy? To answer that, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the modern digital pulse. Then, how technology rewires us. After that, we'll explore the paradox of connectivity. And finally, reclaiming meaningful interactions. All right, part one, the modern digital pulse. Think about it. For thousands of years, human connection was strictly bound by physical geography. You had the town square, the dinner table, maybe the local pub. But we've seen a massive historical shift. We've basically traded those physical analog spaces for a constant beating digital presence that lives in the ether and follows us absolutely everywhere we go. Now, what's really interesting here is breaking down exactly where our digital energy is actually being spent. Check this out. Only 10% goes to productivity and 15% to entertainment. But look at that combined 75% dedicated purely to communication between social media and messaging. We are pouring the vast majority of our cognitive energy into platforms that are designed entirely to simulate social interaction. Which brings us to part two, how technology rewires us. So if you've ever felt like you literally cannot put your phone down, listen, it's not a lack of willpower, it's design. There's a psychological concept called the variable reward schedule, and it's the exact hook these platforms are built on. It's actually the exact same mechanism used in casino slot machines. When you pull down to refresh your feed or you hear a random ping, you don't know if you're getting a highly rewarding piece of social validation, a stressful email from your boss, or nothing at all. And it's exactly that unpredictability that makes the behavior so incredibly compelling and repetitive. And because of that intermittent reinforcement, we're seeing some very tangible symptoms of actual mental rewiring. We're talking measurably shorter attention spans. And, oh, how about phantom vibration syndrome? Come on, when was the last time you swore your phone buzzed in your pocket only to pull out a completely blank screen? That is literally your brain actively anticipating a dopamine hit. Combine that with constant FOMO, the fear of missing out, and we end up trapped in these endless dopamine-driven feedback loops. And instead of feeling energized, we just feel exhausted. Moving right along to part three, the paradox of connectivity. Here is the absolute core of the problem. Digital interaction is engineered from the ground up to be instant, low friction, curated, and highly reaction-based. Honestly, it's easy. But the thing is, human beings don't actually build deep bonds on easy. Analog connection is inherently slow. It demands vulnerability, authenticity, and real deep empathy. A simple double tap on a photo completely bypasses all that emotional heavy lifting required to actually truly know another person. The emotional toll of this paradox is just profound. There's a quote from an expert that puts it perfectly. We are drinking from a fire hose of information, but starving for genuine wisdom and intimacy. It's so true, right? We know what our friends ate for breakfast, we know their political opinions, we know exactly where they went on vacation, but at the same time, we're increasingly isolated from their actual emotional reality. And our specific everyday digital habits directly shape our relationships. For instance, if your primary action is texting over actually talking, the outcome is often a massive increase in misunderstandings. Why? Because text completely strips away tone and nuance. Or, if your primary action is mindless scrolling through curated feeds, the outcome is this toxic comparison culture that breeds resentment instead of community. The tools we use are directly shaping the emotional outcomes of our friendships and partnerships. All right, let's look at the solution in part four, reclaiming meaningful interactions. The central premise of any solution here has to begin with one simple mindset shift. Technology is a tool, not a master. For the last decade or so, we've basically allowed the digital pulse to dictate our rhythms. But to really thrive in a digital world, we have to reclaim our intentionality. We have to be the ones deciding when the tool is useful and when it needs to go back in the toolbox. So the crucial point is, how do we actually implement that intentionality? Well, here are 4 actionable steps. Step 1, establish tech-free zones. The dinner table and the bedroom, those are absolutely fantastic starting points. Step 2, batch process your notifications. Try checking your messages maybe 3 times a day instead of constantly reacting to every single ping. Step 3, prioritize voice over text. A good rule of thumb is, if a text thread goes beyond 3 messages, just pick up the phone. And finally, step 4, actively schedule distraction-free, analog activities to rebuild your capacity for slow, meaningful connection.
Ultimately, it all comes down to the choice sitting right in front of you today. Will you control your digital pulse, or will it control you? Look, the internet isn't going anywhere, but how you choose to engage with it is entirely up to you. I challenge you to change how you interact with your device the very moment this explainer ends. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time as we continue to break down the systems that shape our world.